Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And a number of my subscribers have made me aware of a smaller channel than mine. They linked me a few videos and said, hey, you might find this interesting. You know, I spend a lot of time on here, particularly in this segment, talking negatively about channels that are putting out bad information, con men, stuff that's going to get you hurt. But I don't want people to think that I dislike everybody out there in the community. I don't want them to think that. Yes, this industry is mostly scam artists and everything else and a lot of bad information, but there are some actual good people out there. There are some good channels. And my initial impression after watching about 5 of this guy's videos, I think this is one of those channels. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on scaling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Now, some people actually, when they linked it to me, I had one person say, hey, do you think this guy is copying you? And when I look at it, you know, it's possible, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. I don't think that's the case at all. There have been cases of bigger channels that, even ones that turned on me later, who stole a lot of my material years ago. A lot of it. And then turned on me, but the difference is, I don't care that they took my material. I'm just pissed that they took my material and then turned on me and didn't give me any credit. I give a lot of credit where credit is due because we all stand on the shoulders of giants. You know, if I quote something from Ripto or Paul Carter or anyone else, I tend to say, you know, I throw their name out there. I do that for here and there because these guys do have a lot of knowledge and information that they've acquired. So that's really my only issue there, and I really don't care. I don't care if this guy is copying anything I say or not because he is spreading good information. And when we have this many channels out there that are putting out garbage, trash information, I don't care where the channels get the good information as long as they're spitting it out because people need that. So what is it that I liked about this channel? Well, what I think is interesting, this guy promotes a lot of the same basics that I tell you guys you need. Now, and why I say that doesn't necessarily mean that they copied it, because I think a lot of these things are just reasonable things that any intelligent person who understands programming, understands the human body, understands training, and understands the evidence is going to lean in this direction automatically by default without having heard me say it, without having heard another coach or someone out there saying it. I think it's just the normal logical progression to take. So that's why I don't think this is necessarily that he's copying me. I think it's just reasonable information. And I think any intelligent, reasonable person will arrive at these conclusions on their own. So he might just be a smart guy who's well-read, a lot of experience in the weight room, educated on the topic. And he just arrives at these conclusions naturally. Because that's the interesting thing about science. Data and information tends to be replicatable without having always heard it from another source somewhere. It's data that you can arrive at on your own with the same experiments looking at the same information. It's repeatable. So what's the stuff that this guy's saying that really appealed to me? Well, up front, talking about muscle protein synthesis, full body training. He's a big proponent of that, saying, look, full body 3 or 4 days a week for most of you guys out there who is natural, that's going to be the best way to get big and strong. What's also interesting is that he promotes all these same ideas, but the guy's got, by physique standards, a pretty aesthetic physique, right? Guy's lean, well-proportioned, fair amount of muscle mass. Most guys who are chasing the whole physique thing would look at that guy and say, well, he's got a better physique than Jason, but he's spitting the same sort of information. Exactly the point. Probably eats less calories than me. Probably got slightly different genetics than me. Makes all the difference, doesn't it? The application of the training, though, pretty similar. And again, kind of shows you guys the difference between how simple things like aesthetic structure and body fat affect, and genetics affect body aesthetics, even when training and muscle mass might be similar. Just something to keep in mind. But yeah, he talks about all that. The other thing that really got my attention is something I've been telling you guys for a while. I've told you that there are 6 basic movement patterns that you need to develop. You need to have at least one exercise, and you need to get really, really strong at that exercise if you want to be well balanced in terms of strength and muscularity. He says the same thing. Now, his breakdown's a little different. He breaks it down into exercises, whereas I break it down into movement patterns, right? I break it down into movement patterns. And what is it that he said in his video? He says that you need to do some sort of squat, some sort of deadlift, some sort of either bench press or weighted dip, a standing overhead press, some sort of row, and then some sort of chin up or pull up, right? That's how he broke it down. I tell people you need a squat, you need a hip hinge, and the hip hinge doesn't necessarily have to be a deadlift. It could be a power clean as a hip hinge, isn't it? Yeah, that's it, a hip hinge. A horizontal press, a vertical press, a horizontal pull, and a vertical pull. And preferably, we go back to the caveat, exercises, these need to be, when possible, exercises where you're either standing on your feet or moving your body through space. In other words, standing barbell lifts and weighted body weight exercises tend to produce better overall results. So usually the only thing I even do outside of that myself is like the bench press, right? Which he mentioned. Of course, he said that he feels that the weighted dip is overall better, but the bench press has a greater degree of popularity, competitiveness, things like that. It's points I've argued. But that is fantastic points of getting that across to people, because this is a person who says you need to do basic compounds, you need to have these 6 basic movement patterns, and I don't think that that's copying anyone. I think that's anyone who understands the human body is going to realize those are the 6 movement patterns you need for strength and performance, right? That will cover all of your bases. You're unlikely to have major muscular weaknesses anywhere in your body if you have a nice, solid, full range of motion exercise that you get really strong on that covers those. Again, a guy promotes a lot of full body training, understanding the 6 movement patterns, focus on compound movements and heavy weight. That strength is what matters. That strength is where you get your muscle mass. Strength is where you get your performance. That is the foundation of all of it, right? That strength, the production of force against an external object, is the foundation of all of these other training concepts and training goals that you want. So when you have a smaller channel like this, who does have that look that people want, who is promoting these basic training concepts that should be fundamentals. In other words, the things that he's saying there, quite frankly, anyone who is saying differently than this shouldn't be teaching people about training at all. They aren't qualified. And so that's the beauty of it. He's putting out some nice, solid, basic information that I think every person who trains needs to know. They need to know this. These are the basics. These are the fundamentals. And if you disagree with any of those points, you're ignorant. You probably shouldn't be giving training advice. You probably have built everything you have off grams and grams of gear if you've done anything impressive and you don't understand these concepts. And what you need to understand is that even if you've gone that route, you can't take drug-free people or mildly enhanced people and expect them to get fantastic results off anything other than these sort of concepts. Meaning either full body training, some sort of upper-lower split, basing around movement patterns, not body parts, that big compound movements, that heavy lifting and strength are the foundation of everything, and that you correct muscle imbalances by not having an imbalance in any of your movement patterns. It isn't necessary to focus on an individual muscle in order to achieve muscular balance. That muscle imbalance usually comes from a strength deficiency on one of your basic movement patterns. And that's what those are. Those are your basic movement patterns. And it is quite possible to be maximally developed if you get really strong at least one exercise in each of those basic patterns. So again, basic information. So when I see a smaller channel like this who's trying to come up, they're trying to grow, and they're putting out that sort of information, which is the stuff that people really need to hear, I would much rather give them a shout out to make sure that they grow, rather than some of these complete bullshit garbage channels that have 500,000 subscribers who are doing nothing but selling you garbage, selling you junk programs, selling you circus tricks and pills and powders who don't even grasp the fundamentals of trading. Right? I would much rather see this guy come up than those guys gain another subscriber. Because if everyone watches all the channels that promote these basic ideas, everyone out there is going to get better results. And so we need to be promoting people in the community who are trying to teach correct information like this, who are actually going to help people. They're going to help people reach their goals. They're going to make everyone better. And we need to be knocking down these snake oil salesmen who are selling nothing but garbage and lies and misinformation. And that's the only way we fix what's wrong with this community. So yeah, I'm definitely going to shout this guy out. The TheSwolfessor. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.